Before we get to this week's Weekend Warrior, I just want to give a quick addendum. I did the weekend recap for Thanksgiving weekend, Monday afternoon, pretty early before the actuals came out. So a lot of the numbers I say are off because I also didn't take snapshots of the estimates to match what I said. So Zootopia 2 made 100.26 million over the weekend, the 3-day part, made 158.8 million over the 5 days. Wicked's a little lower, 61.7. Now You See Me's a little lower with 6.9. This is just to say that a lot of the numbers were either lower or higher than what I said. So if I say something and you see a different number, you know why. Thanks.
Come on, y'all. Let's get with it, people. Hey, from Monday through Thursday, I'm dead on my feet. Most of the time, I'm too tired to eat. When I try to read the paper, I fall fast asleep. As soon as Friday rolls around, I lay on my weekday books down. I put on my night rags and pay the time. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, yeah, yeah. 'Cause that's when I party down. Party down. Party hard. Party down.
Welcome back to the Weekend Warrior video edition. I'm Edward Douglas, as usual. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. I took a week off from the video edition and still did a print edition. And this week I'll have a weird kind of video print amalgam. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I might have the video edition out earlier than the print edition. But anyway, first I'll start out with this weekend, Thanksgiving weekend. Always a busy weekend at the box office, especially in the last few years with Disney releasing huge animated sequels. Last year, Moana 2 set a new record for box office on Thanksgiving with like 220 million over 5 days. And this year they had Zootopia 2, which is a sequel to a movie that came out 9 years ago. It was a huge box office hit. It made $1 billion worldwide. Zootopia 2 is looking to do about the same. It did huge in China this weekend, and it did very well in America as well. Made 158 million over the 5-day weekend starting on Wednesday, although it had previews on Tuesday as well. I am recording this on Monday afternoon, so I'm basing this on estimates rather than actuals, which can come in a couple hours later. But later I'll be seeing Avatar, so I don't have time to do this. So I'll do it now. Disney has had a lot of huge hits over Thanksgiving weekend. As far as movies that opened on this weekend, there was last year's Moana 2, as mentioned. There was Moana back in 2016. The sequel, Ralph Breaks the Internet, in between 2018. Coco, Tangled, The Good Dinosaur didn't do very well. It's still one of the bigger Thanksgiving openers. Enchanted, 101 Dalmatians. It goes back to Toy Story and Toy Story 2, which both opened this weekend, or at least expanded wide. I think both of those opened like in 2 theaters in LA the weekend before, but they still did really well. Disney really dominates. Even when you think about the Hunger Games or Harry Potter movies or even Twilight, they all opened the weekend before Thanksgiving and then just carried over. Anyway, let's go back to this weekend. So Zootopia 2 did very well. It's second biggest Thanksgiving ever. Just a 3-day portion, Zootopia made 96.8 million. It was followed in second place by Wicked for Good, 62.8 million with 57% drop, which is pretty bad considering Thanksgiving is a really big family movie weekend. Apparently, a lot of people just rushed out to see it. And we'll just have to see how it drops after this. It's made 270.4 million so far, which is nothing to discount. It's doing very well. It's definitely going to make 300 million. It's probably going to make maybe upwards of 400 million, depending on how it drops once Avatar opens. Third place went to Now You See Me, Now You Don't, 7 million, down 22%, which is probably a more likely drop you get on Thanksgiving weekend than what happened with Wicked for Good. Then you have Predator Badlands, 4.8 million. Also, very small drop, 27%. Edgar Wright's The Running Man dropped 35%, 3.7 million for fifth place. Now You See Me, Now You Don't has made almost 50 million so far. Predator Badlands is at 85 million. The Running Man is only at 34.2 million, which again just shows you that it really has not done as well as anyone has expected, including myself. And then you have another new movies. The top five, only Zootopia was a new movie. The rest of the top five were returning movies. A24's Eternity, starring Miles Teller and Elizabeth Olsen. That was kind of a fantasy romance movie. It opened in 1,348 theaters and it made 3.2 million just over the 3-day portion of the weekend. It made 5.2 million, including Wednesday and Thursday. Not great. Not one of A24's bigger hits. Maybe releasing it over Thanksgiving wasn't a great idea. After that was Rental Family with 2.1 million. dropped 37%. It's made 7.4 million so far. Again, not great, but I mean it's fine in audience, I think. I feel it's going to keep doing well over the holidays. After that, we have a few new movies, kind of oddball, but in eighth place, Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. It's Ryan Johnson's third movie in the Knives Out franchise, starring Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc. That made 1.5 million over the weekend in 600 theaters, which is really not great. It's a Netflix movie. I feel like the theatrical release is sort of like just we need to release it theatrically. It's going to do much better once it hits Netflix, I'm sure. A lot of people are probably waiting for it to be in Netflix. It's made 2.5 million so far. It actually reported box office, which really shocked me and surprised me. We'll see if those numbers change at all later today. After that is Hamnet, which is Chloe Zhao's new movie for Focus Features, starring Jesse Buckley and Paul Mescal. It's getting a lot of awards buzz. It made 880,000 over the 3-day weekend and 1.3 million since opening on Wednesday. It's doing pretty well. It's going to expand wide on Friday, apparently, but I'm not sure how wide it's going to be. Where it's going to be like a layered, tiered thing, but I assume it's going to be like 700, 800 theaters, and then maybe go wider even later once it starts getting award nominations. 10th place went to Sisu, Road to Revenge, Sony's action movie from Finland. Dropped 66%. Again, not good. It's pretty much dead in the water with like 4.1 million. It's probably still profitable. It probably didn't cost very much. It's going to be on streaming or VOD probably before Christmas. I think it generally was a really good Thanksgiving. It was down from last year just by the nature of Moana 2 making more money than Zootopia 2, but it's still nothing to scoff at. And I think Disney's going to be pretty happy. I think theaters are going to be pretty happy with the business. It's going to have 2 more weeks of playing Zootopia at least, and then Avatar opens, and then that's going to take over. This coming weekend, I'm going to quote my poker friend Faj, who basically whenever someone deals and it's really bad cards, he says, "Oh, it's garbage, it's trash." Well, the next 2 weeks is kind of garbage and trash. There's a big Blumhouse movie opening this weekend, and there's some other movies opening, kind of interesting, but I have to say, there's not a ton that's going to get people out into theaters. I mean, even the Blumhouse movie, which is a sequel to one of the biggest hits, who's going to want to see it? I don't know. We'll talk about that in the second half. I will say that I do have a interview with a filmmaker named Eric Lynn, who made an indie movie called Rosemead with Lucy Liu, who I love. It's like a very heavy drama about a mother who has a son with schizophrenia. So I talked to him, and I'll do that interview next. And then after that, you'll either have the Weekend Warrior for this coming weekend, or you won't get that until like later in the week. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna just record everything, edit it. Right now, this last weekend did really well. This next weekend, Zootopia is probably gonna be number one again. We'll see. We'll talk about it in a little bit.
This isn't going to just go away like some cold. He needs to learn to live with it. You both do.
Dr. Xu, just because you have Chinese face is not mean you're understanding us.
Joe, are you all right? We can take a break.
No, I'm okay.
Hey, Eric, how you doing, man?
Hey, Edward, nice to meet you.
I know about this movie since Tribeca, and actually know your editor, Joe Krings, who I see at the Metrograph all the time. He does like the Ace Presents thing there. Probably see him tomorrow night. So I was very excited to finally see this movie. I guess it's interesting because this is your feature directorial debut, and you cover a lot of bases. You have cancer, schizophrenia, school shootings, suicide. I mean, really everything. How do you kind of get involved with like Marilyn and Lucy to kind of tell the story?
Yeah, so my background is as a cinematographer. I've shot numerous indie features and commercials and documentaries, and I had worked with Minette Louie, one of our producers, many times, and so we had talked about working on other projects together, and luckily, once she had, her and her other producers, Andrew Corkin and Theo James, had optioned the article and had Marilyn adapt it when they were looking for directors. Luckily, she thought of me, and I read the script and it really connected with it. It broke my heart, and I really, I saw my own family within that story, and I felt like it was a story that I could tell honestly and truthfully. And yeah, like you said, it has all these complex elements, and maybe not the best first outing, the best thing to take on as a first outing as a director. But you know, I felt like it was such an urgent story, and I needed to be the one to tell it. And luckily, the producers agreed, and they took a leap of faith on me.
They're working with Lucy Liu, which she's going to do the accent. It's kind of like, I mean, obviously she's lived in and around Chinese people for most of her life, all of her life. How do you guys decide, like, how much Irene's going to be, more on the Chinese side of things?
You know, it was a discussion, and you know, in talking about her portrayal of Irene, it was all about, you know, emotional honesty and authenticity to the world, you know, and you know, Lucy really tapped into her own biography, you know, people she knew, you know, I'm sure her mother factored into her ideas of how to portray an immigrant woman, you know, in a situation like this, and you know, we had a lot of discussions. You know, working with Lucy is amazing. She's, you know, she was so committed to this film, and you know, we spent like weeks in prep, just kicking around every single piece of dialogue, every piece of you know, the scene to make sure it felt right and it was authentic and true, you know. And she was so committed and devoted that time in prep, and I thought that just was so inspiring and just so amazing that she had this passion for the story, you know, the same amount of passion we had in trying to make this film. So, uh, you know, I think she just poured herself completely into the role and tapped into, you know, she dug deep, and you know, I think audiences will connect with her.
Was it hard finding Lawrence to play Joe? I mean, it's amazing performance, and this is also his first feature, oddly enough. So did it take a long time to find him, and what was kind of the process?
Yeah, it was an exhaustive process. We cast a wide net. Our casting directors, Jessica Kelly and Stacey Rice, they, you know, I think they got over 600 submissions, and then we had like 300 actors put themselves on tape and combed through all those and found Lawrence. You know, yeah, he's only done short films and student films before, but you know, it was immediately apparent on his audition tape that he had like this incredible instinct. You know, his choices were always interesting. He had incredible empathy for this character, and he had the imagination to like, you know, to take what would be, you know, he had the imagination to really explore what it would be like to be a child with schizophrenia and what that would be like, and you know, the willingness to go there.
Was this a movie that took a long time to develop and get from like when you came on board to actually getting on set to shoot it?
Yeah, it was about, so it took 7 years.
And Rosemary's actually in California, is that right? That took
Yeah, it's
place?
an
Okay.
ethnic enclave in the San Gabriel Valley, which is sort of a, you know, east of Los Angeles. Yeah, there's a lot of Chinese communities there.
But you're in New York originally, right?
Yeah, so I went to NYU and I've stayed there since. Yeah, so I'm a New Yorker.
So how was it shooting in California? I mean, I assume as a cinematographer, you've shot there a lot.
I have shot in California a lot, but you know, we shot the bulk of the film in New York in February,
Okay.
and then we shot the exteriors in San Gabriel Valley here in California. So
Awesome.
you know, part of the magic trick of the filmmaking was to make those two worlds make sense and to feel like California. But we were blessed with sort of a warm winter that year. There was only one day where we had a blizzard that we couldn't show the windows inside the house. But yeah, we lucked out with the weather.
Yeah, I had no idea. I just assumed you shot it out all out there. Yeah. Now you do this background as a cinematographer. So was there any point where you were going to shoot this as well as directed, or did you really want to kind of separate and just focus on working with the actors and things like that?
Yeah, I never thought I would shoot this film and direct. It would just be too intense. Like I knew, you know, I've obviously been alongside a lot of directors and seen how difficult it is to direct a film. And I knew if I was worrying about lensing and lighting and camera movement, I would be using that as a crutch where I needed to really focus, you know, everything on performances and the world and making sure that the story felt completely, you know, authentic and true to the emotions we wanted. So, yeah, it never crossed my mind because I was like, if I'm directing for the first time, there's no way I can also like, yeah, be on the camera and worrying about those things.
Did you have someone from your camera team who'd worked on some other movies that you could kind of promote the cinematographer or?
So I actually asked my classmate from NYU, a great DP named Lyle Vincent, who I've known since my NYU days. We both went to NYU. True story, the first set that our producer Minette Louie ever set foot on as a PA was a NYU thesis film I was DPing, and Lyle Vincent, who DP'd our film, was doing sound on that same shoot. So we had, and then, many, many, many years later, we got together and got to make Rosemead.
Now, as the filmmaker, as a first feature, what would you like people to get out of this movie? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things that people can think about afterwards. Obviously, I don't want to spoil some things, but like, what as a filmmaker, what would you like people to get out of it? I mean, this is something you spend a lot of time making, so.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope it sparks conversations, about um, the stigma around mental health, about how shame and isolation can lead people to feel like they have to make impossible choices. You know, it's um, it's intense stuff, but the sort of the root and the foundation of the whole film is this love between the mother and child, and I hope people feel that and they understand that, as they go into it.
做错了什么？我很强，大家都知道你有多爱他。
I'm sorry, Mom. I'm trying. I really am.
I'm looking for my son. His name is Joe Zhao.
你要坚强，为了Joe。
宝贝，不管发生什么事，妈咪永远爱你。
I hope you liked my interview with Eric Lin. You can find out more about Rosemead in this week's print edition. But let's get to some of the wide releases, and there are a lot, and it's kind of crazy because usually the weekend after Thanksgiving is not known as a good week to release a new movie. It is very much a dumping ground. Most people have taken off work and school the week before, so they're ready to get back into it, especially because Christmas is coming up. They need to work a little harder. They need to finish up schoolwork so they can enjoy the holidays. So yeah, the weekend after Thanksgiving has never been a weekend where studios want to release some of their bigger movies. So it's a little weird that Universal and Blumhouse decided that this was the weekend they should release the sequel to one of Blumhouse's bigger hits, Five Nights at Freddy's, based on the video game. It's called Five Nights at Freddy's 2, believe it or not, very original. And as you can see, that's one of the killer animatronics that appears in the movie. I did see Five Nights at Freddy's a couple years ago when it opened. I will see Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It's a little weird, but Universal is not showing the movie to critics until Wednesday night, pretty late, and the reviews won't hit until Thursday. And the reason for that is because reviews for the last movie were so bad that Universal doesn't feel the need to show it to critics. So I will see it. I did see the previous movie. I can't remember if I reviewed the previous movie. Let's get into how this movie might do this weekend.
So you wanna tell me about your bad dreams?
It's always the same.
Your dad. We're never gonna be able to move forward until you deal with some of the mess you left in your head.
My father was a monster. You know that.
Everyone called it an accident, but it wasn't until years later when those 5 children went missing that I knew she was murdered by him.
Are you ever gonna go back to Freddy's, I mean?
The first movie opened in 2023. It was October 27th. So the movie opened with 80 million, which is insanely good. I think it's actually Blumhouse's biggest opening, even bigger than the Halloween movie they made with David Gordon Green, the first of them. So there was a lot of buzz for it because the video game is really hugely popular among young people, and mainly young guys, I assume. And they all rushed out to see it Thursday night. It ended up with 137.2 million domestic, which is not that great when you consider that 80 million of that's from opening weekend. So it made 80 million, and then it just kind of tanked after that. But it did well internationally, 160 million, so almost 300 million worldwide. The production budget of the first movie was 20 million, but the reported budget for this one is 51 million. So there's already twice as much money to make this movie, which means it has to make more money to be profitable. Blumhouse has not been having a great year. Stock has been falling in recent years, which is not going to help it at all. This one again stars Josh Hutcherson from the Hunger Games movies, who's joined by Matthew Lillard, And also, there's smaller roles from McKenna Grace, who was just in Regretting You. It also marks the return of Megan Fox, who starred in the popular Diablo Cody written horror film Jennifer's Body. Again, I haven't seen the movie yet, so there's not much I can say about it other than it's a sequel to a movie that did really well. Because Blumhouse has not been doing as great this year, you have to wonder about whether or not this sequel will also maybe take a tumble. I mean, the fact that it's not coming out right before Halloween is not going to help things. The fact that it's coming out a week after Thanksgiving is not going to help matters. You look at the drop for Megan 2.0 earlier this year. That cost twice as much as the original, but opened with 10 million versus the 30 million opening of the original movie. And it only made 24 million domestic, which is also less than opening the first movie. So that's also not good. Black Phone 2 did much better because it opened bigger than the 2022 The Black Phone, but it ended up not grossing as much. And then it also cost twice as much. So what seems to be happening with Blumhouse right now, Blumhouse started out making movies for like $2, $3, $5 million, and they were always profitable because they were made for so cheaply. But now they're putting more money into the budgets when the sequels are costing twice as much as the original, and the sequels are not making as much as the original. It kind of makes you wonder, like, well, maybe they need to rethink what's going on because if they're overspending to make these movies and the movies are not as profitable, then they might want to go back to the original game plan. They don't have a lot coming out after Five Nights at Freddy's 2. They have Soulmate with an 8 in January, and then a new Insidious movie in August. And then there's Rob Savage's Other Mommy starring Jessica Chastain. That's right before Halloween in October. So that's, this is Blumhouse's, chance to maybe having one big hit. So this is Blumhouse's chance to have at least one big hit in the so this is Blumhouse's chance to have at least one big hit in 2025 before ending their year. No one's seen this movie before Wednesday night. You're not going to see any reviews till Thursday. If you go back to the original movie, it got terrible reviews. The original movie got terrible reviews. It was 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, but that's from critics. If you look at the popcorn meter, which is actually from the audiences and the fans, that's 86%. And they're the ones that matter because they're the ones who are going to want to either see this new movie or not. And right now, it's not tracking to do very well. It's not selling tickets that well. So you have to wonder, well, is it gonna make it open with 80 million? Probably not. The question is whether it's going to open enough with enough money to beat Zootopia in weekend two. And I'm actually starting to think that maybe it won't. It's not going to get as big an audience because it's not coming out right before Halloween and it's coming out the weekend after Thanksgiving. So if it makes 35 million, maybe pushing 40, it'll still be number two after Zootopia 2. We'll have to see how it does next weekend before Avatar comes and kills everything. But right now I have it at number two with between 35 and 40 million.
Once upon a time, around the year 2003, there began a legend of bloody revenge. That was the warm-up round.
Kill Bill: The Whole Blade Affair is a good example of how theaters are embracing re-releases, with movies like Jaws and others doing very well. Quentin Tarantino has not really jumped on the re-release bandwagon as much as others. Many of Quentin Tarantino's early movies, like Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown, have begun regular showings in repertory theaters over the years. But a lot of his more recent movies have not been shown in theaters other than his own theaters in LA. These movies don't get shown in theaters very much. They haven't gotten big re-releases. So re-releasing Kill Bill is a pretty epic moment, especially being released in this new 4-hour version. Kill Bill is one of his more popular movies when it was released as two parts, Volume 1 in October 2003, and Part 2 6 months later. The first movie opened with 22.1 million, made 70 million domestic and 106 million overseas. And then 6 months later, the sequel made 25 million in fewer theaters and ended up with 66.2 million domestic and 87.3 overseas. It's going to be interesting to look back at Kill Bill when the new 28 years later sequels comes out in January because it's a very similar thing where they release the movie and having a sequel ready to go 6 months later. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of older guys, but I still think it's going to be shooting for maybe 5, 6 million this weekend, maybe pushing 10 million, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be lower than that. Again, this weekend is not very good for movies in general.
虎杖悠じゃ、僕が殺します。ごめんね、虎杖君。
The other movie that might have some competition for Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is Jujutsu Kaisen Execution from G-Kids, which is a compilation of episodes from the new season of the popular anime movie. Jujutsu Kaisen Zero opened in March 2022 in 2,286 theaters, and it opened with 18 million, which was amazing. And it ended up making 33.9 million domestically. That was impressive enough for G Kids to want to keep releasing the TV series in theaters. It did just that when this past summer it released Jujutsu Kaisen Hidden Inventory Premature Death into theaters over the summer. It opened in 1,187 theaters, but just for 2 days, where it made 2.5 million. It then dropped down to 475 theaters and never made more than a million a day after that. These movies tend to be very front-loaded as is. This is a preview of upcoming season rather than a new original theatrical feature. Because of that, I don't think it's going to open as well as Jujutsu Kaisen Zero. I mean, 18 million seems kind of unlikely, but I think it could open with like 3 to 5 million. But wait, there's more. Yes, somehow studios have decided that this is the weekend where they should release a lot of junk. I can't say too much about some of the movies because they're under embargo, but most of them aren't. The first release we talk about is Merrily We Roll Along, which is Sony Classics is releasing a filmed version of the hit Broadway musical starring Jonathan Groff and Daniel Radcliffe. Musical is very popular. A lot of people went to see it. Some people didn't get to see it. And so the point of the movie is that it'll give people in other areas a chance to see it. I don't know how wide Sony Classics is going to release this, but there are a lot of musical fans out there in the world who either missed it on Broadway or want to see it again. And this would be an opportunity for them to see it on the big screen. It's pretty good. I definitely enjoyed it. But it's a little strange. It's not something that's been done very often. The most recent example was Waitress, the musical, which opened in over 1,200 theaters in December 2023, exactly 2 years ago. And it ended up making 3.5 million in the first 4 days, which is pretty impressive, actually. It shows that people definitely want to see these musicals in theaters with their friends, maybe not singing along, but, at least seeing it. So Waitress, the musical, ended up making 5.4 million. I think Merrily We Roll Along could do a little bit better because it does have some named stars, particularly Daniel Radcliffe. I could see it opening with like maybe 2 or 3 million. Again, I don't know the theater counts. We'll have to see if Sony Classics is able to hold this a little longer over the holidays, or it's going to lose all its theaters when Avatar opens. But I could see it making maybe 5, 6 million total, very similar to Waitress.
Well done, Father.
England, 1931. Welcome to FACKHAM Hall, home to the Davenports.
Finally, one of our children is to be wed.
After so many years of courting, she's finally found the right cousin.
It was a different time, a simpler time.
You're here for the position of hall boy, is that right?
You've brought all the wine out from the cellar.
Yes, Mom.
And closed the cellar hatch.
I've decided I'm not going to change my background for these next two movies because I just don't have too much to say about them. Bleecker Street is releasing FACKHAM Hall, or FACKHAM Hall, or FACKHAM All. Yes, get it? That's a joke. It's a comedy. It's a spoof of Downton Abbey. I honestly have no idea who's supposed to see this movie. Who wants to see this movie? People who like Downton Abbey won't want to see this really lowbrow comedy. People who like lowbrow comedy don't watch these kind of period films. So I'm not really sure what's happening. This is kind of a very, very again, can't say too much. Under embargo, almost forgot. But yeah, it's opening in an unknown number of theaters at this point. Maybe I'll know more when I write the print edition, but I don't expect it to do very well. IFC Films, or the Independent Film Company Films, I don't know what they call themselves anymore. They're releasing Julia Jackman's 100 Nights of Hero, which is also kind of a period film. It's also in the vein of Hamnet, I guess, Chloe Zhao's movie, which is expanding wider this weekend. Its cast includes Emma Corrin, Nicholas Galitzine, Micah Monroe, Richard E. Grant, and Amir El Masri. I'll have a review of it in my print edition, but I just don't think people are even going to know this movie exists. I don't know who's going to see it. So that's what we have this week. We have Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It's going to do pretty well. Kill Bill is going to do pretty well based on Quentin Tarantino. Jujutsu Kaisen will do well, among anime fans. Merrily We Roll Along, musical fans. They're out there. And then the other two movies, I have no idea who's going to want to see them, but they're out there. There's a lot to see this weekend. As I said, Chloe Zhao's Hamnet will expand wider, maybe not fully wide. You can look at my top 10 predictions and see how I think these movies are going to do. I don't have a lot to say about them. I'm going to try to review some of them. I'm going to try to review Five Nights at Freddy's 2, but that won't be till Thursday. I am seeing Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair on Tuesday night. Might not have so much to say about that. I've already reviewed them back in 2003, but that's about it. That's this week. Next week, is also a whole lot of nothing, but I'll be here anyway.